I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside, along with my partner in crime. It's like we're having a right side of campus reunion today on a Tuesday. Guest Jeff Nadeau is going to be in here in just a few moments. We're going to pick out some college football action, a 5-pack that listeners sent in that everybody certainly wants to go over and check out. So some interesting stuff on the horizon. NFL football as well. Lines are out here. We're going to take a look and go over certainly some of these peak games just to see how they opened up, not capping them, so to speak, as if last night was a Monday Night Football game or if a game was going to be played tonight, but a nice overview that we can get into. Also hitting the scandal charge here over Twitter and also ESPN. Everywhere you check is the college basketball pay to play. It's been around for 30, 40, 50 years in college basketball. Some reason now coming directly to the forefront. Major League Baseball also this evening. We have a nice 5-pack that we picked out tonight. Try to go over some odds and ends to see if we can make some money here in the last week of baseball season. Let me bring in my co-host today, the big man on campus, Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, how's it going, buddy?
Doing great, Donnie. How are you?
No complaints, man. Doing well. I mean, we finished up a nice show this afternoon on the right side of campus. I know you're doing a lot of videos around here on SBR. I'll also be appearing with Gabe tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern time as well. So busy season, Jeff. No rest for the weary out here.
No, I have plenty of shows, soccer to do, close it on with you, all sorts of stuff going on. Busy weeks nowadays at SBRforum.com.
Now, football season in full swing here. I know also soccer, Jeff, anything, and it is the closing line. Tuesday, Wednesday, a little bit different of a show. No football on the horizon here. Let the folks know about anything that was going on the soccer pitch today. Wins, losses, what looked good, what didn't, what happened out there, man?
Yeah, I went 3-0. A nice 3-0 sweep on the card. I got a couple late goals. Porto went over, which is nice. Tottenham cruised to an easy victory. And Real Madrid and Dortmund was fun. 3-1 there. So, yeah, big thing about Champions League, though, Donnie, it's 2 straight days. Then you got Europa League on Thursday. So it's all about maintaining consistency throughout the 3 days. But Celtics on tomorrow. We got Paris Saint-Germain playing. Plenty of great games. Looking forward to it. Then we got over the weekend back to domestic league. So a lot going on in the soccer world as well.
No, yeah, if worlds collide at this point, you have, just starting up as well. I know you said last night, like, hey, the Flyers played last night, but I mean, technically still going over the preseason, but we're not far away, Jeff, from getting that confluence of Major League Baseball, pro football, NCAA football, NCAA basketball. I mean, it's all right there. Soccer as well included. So a lot to keep up with. Always check back in here at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter and also SBRodds.com for all of the latest. Jeff, there are some Major League Baseball games going on this evening. We will get to that first to clear the deck and get that out of the way. 9:57, 9:58. Chicago Cubs here with Jake Arrieta on the mound versus Carlos Martinez. About 5,000 tickets have been tracked on this. Over-under opened up at 8. Looks like a side here, Jeff. Roughly a pick 'em in this one. Pinnacle opened up at -106, now sitting at -108. Chris at -102. Sportsbook.com at -109. Checking the game yesterday, an easy winner for the Cubs. Looks like the Cardinals season just about up and over at this point. I mean, it's almost that now you say, Jeff, last week, good luck with these baseball games. I have no feel for the actual side of this one. 2 good pitchers in here, just looking to close out down the stretch. The over-under is 8 in this one. If I had a lean, I would just take the under in this equation here.
Yeah, I don't know that I understand this line. I mean, Cubs clinched tonight with a victory, the NL Central. They also have won 11 of 13, and they've actually this year owned the Cardinals. They've won 12 of 16 against St. Louis. Arrieta has great numbers in his career against St. Louis. And look, the truth of the matter is Carlos Martinez hasn't pitched particularly well lately. You look at over his last 11 and a third, he's given up 11 earned runs. He's not pitching well. He's having some trouble. And right now, getting the Cubs at this price, I got to be honest, Donnie. I don't look over baseball much. I do look over it, just to see how the lines are looking and things like that. I was under the impression that the Cubs, even on the road here, would be a 130, 140 favorite. I mean, they're clinching here with a win. Got a good pitcher on the mound, their best pitcher. Martinez struggling. They've owned the Cardinals. I'm all over the Cubs in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. Like, because I mean, seeing these teams, I mean, technically, I guess I still think the Cardinals actually are in it theoretically, but obviously, you need 100 things to happen or go their way at this point. Just look both ways. Again, it's baseball last week is just, I mean, I equate it to betting the preseason in football because you really don't even know what's going to happen. You might lean towards taking a dog in this situation, but there's no dog in this situation. You're basically getting minus 110, so to speak, on both sides, especially if you're having a local book looking at it. And you're right, Martinez last 2 starts, 6 1/3, 4 earned runs, 5 1/3, 7 earned runs, hasn't really been on point. You would look towards a Cubs victory in this one, but your guess on this one, Jeff, would be as good as mine. We'll try to mine some gems out tonight. 965, 966, Tampa Bay and the New York Yankees. Snell versus Montgomery. Opened up minus 158, now sitting at 169. The home team obviously being the New York Yankees. Over under this one in 8.5. Not much to play for either one of these ball clubs. Have the Yankees, or has Boston clinched the division yet, Jeff?
No.
So, I mean, there might be still some, odds and ends.
The Yankees can clinch home or the wild card home game here, though, coming up. It's still ongoing. It's unlikely they do it, but they can clinch home field advantage here. I think their magic number with that is 2. So they still have a reason to play here.
Yeah, so we're looking at, Yankee Stadium. Over-under was 9, bet down to 8.5. 2 lefties on the mound. Just in that small ballpark in this one, I'll just take a small lean on the over 8.5 in this one. Give me 4 runs on each side, and I have an automatic winner. I know the Yankees bullpen is good. Tampa Bay, not the greatest hitting ball club heading down the stretch. Not much to play for. I'll lean on the over in this one, Jeff. Any leans or any ideas to go a certain way on this one?
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of an audition of sorts for Jordan Montgomery here. They're going to have to, if I guess, use a lefty at some point. It's either going to be Jamie Garcia or Montgomery. I would think Garcia has the upper hand, but if Montgomery, who's pitched pretty well this year, this is a big game for him at home at the stadium. Snell pitching for the Rays. I'm not a big fan of his, and I'm also not a big fan of the Rays against lefties, hitting just 229 this year. I'm not one to lay prices like this, but I will say this. Sometimes you got to lay a little to make money in September baseball. This looks like a good spot for the Yanks coming off. Coming into this one, kind of a ton to play for here. They want to get that home field game in the wild card game. I like Montgomery. I think this would be a good audition for him. And Yankees are at home here, facing a lefty for the Rays. So I'll go with the Yankees. I think that's a good play here.
Yep, and I'll go with a small taste on the over there. 969, 970. Toronto, Boston, battle of lefties here. Jay Happ versus Chris Sale. Sale, obviously a big favorite. Opened at 230 at Pinnacle. Jeff down to 214. Chris, 226. Sportsbook.com minus 230. So obviously paying over $2 to get a price on the Boston Red Sox. I actually agree with this line. I mean, I wouldn't be betting or laying that much, but I can see Chris Sale is in a little bit, Boston still has to win, yes. But Chris Sale is in that, head-to-head locking horns, trying to get that Cy Young award. Maybe if he goes 8 innings, 1 earned run or 0 earned runs with 12 or 13 strikeouts, might be able to sway some votes his way. I think it's a big personal performance here for Chris Sale tonight versus a team when the Toronto Blue Jays that are out of the playoffs, obviously just looking to wind down the season, not get hurt. I would lean on taking Boston here. I mean, I'm not a run line guy, but I would go Boston minus 1.5. I think Sale's going to be dominant tonight, trying his last effort, Jeff, to get that Cy Young award under his belt.
Yeah, and he's been great in his career against Toronto. 8 starts, an ERA of 1.33, and he has 13 strikeouts from the all-time club record held by Pedro Martinez. Last start out, he had 13 strikeouts, and he's owned this Toronto team. They've also owned Toronto this year, Boston. They've won 12 of 17. Look, they're playing well, winning 6 of 7. The concern for me is, they go through these spurts offensively where they struggle to score runs. I think with Happ on the mound, can he hold them down? I'm not sure. I'm looking on the run line here. Chris Sale's going to be in line to win this game. It's just, can they get a couple runs off of Happ? I think they can. Obviously, they have 3 to clinch this division to play for here. I think they win this one. I'd go with the run line.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun next week also. I mean, we get underway in some of these wild card games. You're going to have afternoon baseball back. We'll have a good time picking and choosing. That way you can really cap and get down to what works here. We're just trying to make it through this last bit of the season. Jeff and I mean, overall, like premium plays and having hardcore winners in Major League Baseball, that ended a couple weeks ago, but there is a little bit, as we say each and every day, meat left on the bone. We'll see what we can pick out here. Good pitching matchup coming up here next one, Jeff. 971, 972. Houston and Texas battle the lefties again. Seemed the last 3 games we went over, Jeff, both left-handed pitchers in all these duels. Keuchel versus Hamels, 129. The line opens up in the favor of the road team. Houston Astros now currently sitting at 144 at Pinnacle, 150 at Chris, 146 at BetOnline. So a decisive advantage. The public looks like they have spoken on the Houston Astros in this one. Over under in this ballpark, Jeff, Globe Life, 9.5 here. Heading down the stretch, I'm not going to lie. I mean, Dallas Keuchel's been very good. Hamels, you're going to get what you get. I'm going to lean on going with Texas just because the underdog role. They're at home. You're getting a price on that. And I don't know what the, so to speak, would be in this ball game. I'll call Hamels here on the mound at home, Jeff.
NLT's out as well, which, again, I mean, they have a great lineup, but good point. They're clearly rest people would not to play. Texas team offensively at home. Hamels has been very good there as well. 7-0 with a 3.5 ERA in 10 starts at home this year. Look, overall, I don't have much in this game. It's really kind of a game that doesn't mean too much in the grand scheme of things. Keuchel's usually pretty good. His command's had a little trouble lately, but overall, he's been very good and will be very good here. I kind of want to lean under. They've had a little trouble giving him run support lately, Keuchel, and Hamels has been very good overall at home. Maybe a first 5 under. That way you get, kind of avoid the bullpens here. That would kind of be my pattern here. But overall, I don't have much of an opinion on this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at overall, I mean, if you're the Houston Astros, do you want to stretch Keuchel out? Let's just say he's having a really good outing. He's at 90 pitches in the seventh inning, and it's a 2-1 ball game. You're going to say, hey, man, just finish this game out. You're going to get ready for the playoffs. You're going to pull him, tell him to hit the showers. Nice work, good workout. Let's save and keep you fresh there. Hamels, on the other hand, I mean, if he's having a really good ball game, which he tends to throw a lot of pitches over the first 5 to 6 innings, but if he's going well, they'll stretch him out because there's no need for the playoffs. And, Hamels doesn't have that big of a history of getting hurt.
I'm not really sure why he's pitching here at all, personally, but I mean, he's so critical to their future, Keuchel. I mean, I mean, it's a complete waste to have him pitch. I'm not really sure why he's pitching here.
Yeah. I mean, motivation, obviously, yeah. I mean, they're resting up for the playoffs, so I'll lean on taking that plus 135. We'll see what happens. 979, 980, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Two teams not going anywhere. Gausman on the mound versus Williams. Line opened up at minus 120, Jeff, in the favor of the Baltimore Orioles. Chris opened up at 35. Chris now down to 115. Sportsbook 119. Bet online 115. And you know what? I can't stand the Pittsburgh Pirates all year long, but I'm actually leaning, taking the plus money dog here, how short it is at home. Orioles don't care what's going to take place here. And even if we take a look, Jeff, I haven't seen the lineups come out yet, so I'm just going to click on that as we get going. Austin Hayes in that early spot. Machado's going to be in the lineup tonight, but it looks like the center fielder is going to get the night off here for the Adam Jones, I apologize, getting the night off. Santander's in the lineup tonight. Gausman's going to have to bat. Catcher Chance Sisco in the lineup. Give me the dog tonight in the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't think the Orioles even give a damn that they're playing this ball game.
Yeah, clearly they don't. And they've been a dreadful team on the road. I mean, 28-47 this year, and that was their undoing this year. I mean, they can win at home. Cam Yards is great for them, but overall their undoing has been not being able to win on the road and a poor pitching staff. The first half of the season was tough. I mean, no one pitched well for this team. Their bullpen was up in flames. But yeah, I agree with you. Williams has been overall pretty good this year for this team. And it just really is about who cares in this game. Pittsburgh at home, I would lean that way as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go a common theory that I used quite a bit here this summer, Jeff. I'm just going to go double dogs tonight. If you split, go 1-1, you take down plus money, but I think I have a decent shot to win both of them. I'll take the Texas Rangers tonight if we're taking a look at sportsbook.com plus 135, and we'll keep that same book rolling it over to the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. I'll take plus 109 on the Pittsburgh Pirates as two dogs. Any ways that you want to lean on any one of these games, Jeff, just to give out a quick maybe one or two?
Yeah, I'm looking Cubs here. That looks like the best play on the board to me. I think there's a lot of motivation for the Cubs to get the job done here. Maybe even on the road in your rival's park with their best pitcher on the mound. They've been hitting the ball well lately. I'll go with the Cubs here at pretty much even money.
Yep. Now, moving it over, Jeff. Early in the week, it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, it's hump day to me on the closing line, just trying to get you through to Thursday so we can chew on some football and get into some real money numbers, get back to across the counter where the bookies are going with the money. But Jeff has a 5-pack here that picked out, which people, subscribers, as well as obviously people on Twitter reached out to Jeff. They want to go over some of these games. So we're going to pick 5 of these out heading into the weekend. One Thursday night game, one Friday night game, and a couple games on Saturday, Jeff. We'll start with the Thursday night option, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 103, 104. Texas, Iowa State. We've seen this game before in the past. We've seen Texas get beat, being a much, much higher favorite in this one. Opening line here at Pinnacle, Jeff, 5.5. If we look at Chris, they actually opened at -4. That line is a little bit higher at this point. Chris at 6.5, sportsbook.com, 6.5. The Greek coming in at -6. So just about a touchdown favorite for the road team here, Texas. Iowa State, upstart program, second-year head coach, trying to make their mark in this one. They have a shot at pulling the upset here, Jeff.
Yeah, I think they definitely have a shot at pulling the upset. Will they do it? I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to if will go up to 7. I think I'd be inclined to grab the points if it does. But for me, I think the play that I would officially give out for this game would be over 63.5. I mean, you look at both these teams off of buys, so they're refreshed here. And this is a tough atmosphere for Texas to go into. It's a dangerous atmosphere. This is definitely a team that can pull an upset if you're not on your game here. Tom Herman needs to be prepared in this game. This Iowa State aims on a Thursday night with the only game on the card. This is a dangerous spot. And Iowa State's covered 11 of 15. But overall, I like both the offenses. I think Buechele, who I think will be the quarterback in this game over Ehlinger, he should have no problem moving the ball up and down the field. Iowa State's one problem on defense is they don't have a great secondary. They're pretty young in that secondary. And I look for Iowa State. They are really improved on offense. Put up 41 points against Iowa earlier this year. Their quarterback, Park, really has done some good things. And they've steadily improved under Matt Campbell since he came over. They have one of the best receivers in the conference in Allen Lazard. And also, you look at the fact of Texas, they've failed to cover in 4 or 5 on the road. The only cover coming against USC a couple weeks ago. I think we see points. Tempo should be pretty high here. Should be a typical Big 12 shootout kind of game. I'm looking at like a 38-31 type of game. If you can get set with Iowa State, I would consider grabbing them here. But for me, I think the better play is on the over. Texas has kind of proved that they're not particularly good on defense. And I'm not sure Iowa State can get stops either. For me, over 63.5.
It should be going. I like that. I mean, the decent football game put on Thursday, so at least if you have two TVs or just flipping back and forth, you can catch a little Texas Iowa State along with the Thursday night game, the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Next up here on the docket, Jeff, Friday night, one I'm really looking forward to, one of my favorite games of the week, 111, 112 on your rotation. USC versus Washington State playing up on the Palouse. Opened up at -4 at Pinnacle, -4 at Chris. Showing a little bit of movement at Chris at -3.5 at -105. Sportsbook.com -4. Bet online -4. So somewhere around that 3.5, 4 range. I don't think it's going to dip to 3 or less. I don't think this game's going to get up above, let's just say, 6 or more in the favorite for USC. What do you see out of this program here? I know Washington State, Jeff, last couple of years, I don't even want to say upstart program. Leach is finally getting that program where it should be there as a Pac-12 program, but haven't played very much competition this year. Now stepping up in class, USC's been tested a little bit. What do you see out of this football game?
Yeah, you're right. They definitely haven't played a ton of competition. Boise State up in Boise State coming to the Palouse was a pretty good game. And if we remember in that game, they didn't play particularly well either. Washington State had a couple injuries though, some weird coaching maneuvers. But look, I threw a lot of that out. There are two 4-0 football teams here that are really, I think, going to be pumped up for this game. A huge game in the Pac-12 early on here. The thing you have to know about Washington State, they're much better, Donnie, in an underdog role as opposed to being a favorite. I'd much rather have them in an underdog role in the Pac-12. They've been great as that role. They've covered 9 of 12 as an underdog. And in those 12 games as underdogs over the last 12, they've actually won 6 of them outright. So they're not only covering but winning. There's an injury concern in this football game with Ronald Jones. That's concerning for me. And another concerning thing is USC over the last 2 games have generated 10 turnovers. I don't know that that's going to be a big thing in this game. Luke Falk, very good at taking care of the football for the most part, has one of the best completion percentages in the country and has had one of the best over the last couple years. I like the fact that Washington State is going back to what Leach has made his money on for many years, throwing the football, the third in passing offense in the country. And you look at Luke Falk, Donnie, in 2.5 years, he's thrown for over 10,000 yards. He already has over almost 1,400 this year. And he's been very, very good with the football. Same can't be said for Darnold. Darnold has turned the ball over 7 times in 4 games. Just not something, especially on the road, you want to see. It's Pac-12 time. It's time to throw away what happened early in the season. These teams are going to be up for the game, and I think Washington State can pull the upset here at home. Their defense is much better. Alex Grinch has turned them into a really mean front seven. Should see some points here, though. But overall, I'm going to go with Wazoo. I don't know if I'll be betting it. It's not going to be on my client card or anything, but I think they can do enough to win this football game. But I will admit, I'm a little bit of a Washington State homer. I like this team. Always like Luke Falk. I think they're a team that's built to win and win games like this. They do it in the Pac-12 all the time. Who's to say they can't do it here?
Yeah, I mean, take a look, Jeff. California and Texas, last two games that USC played. If we look at the defensive statistics, I mean, giving up 300 yards passing to California, giving up 298 to Texas in that, right? Even if you look at some of the ground game that they've had or given up, Western Michigan gained, 263 yards on the ground versus them. Stanford gained 170. California even went over the 100-yard mark. So almost 420 yards of offense out of Cal. Washington State should be able to move the football in USC. The one thing I want to see is that Washington State defense step up. Again, they haven't been tested much. 46 yards on the ground versus
Donnie,
Nevada, 105 in the air. Go ahead.
Here's the point of the matter. It doesn't matter who Washington State played. Last year, they lost to Portland State in the first game of the year, and they ended up going to the Pac-12 final. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they played, who's on your schedule, who you played. So is Penn State shitty, and were they shitty going into Iowa because they didn't play anyone? It's part of the schedule. Unfortunately, we can't control schedules. I don't think it means much, though. This is a Pac-12 football game. Everything's going to be thrown out the window in this game. They play Boise. They're a pretty good opponent. It is what it is. I mean, it's all about the schedules. But for Washington State, out-of-conference schedules haven't meant much at all.
Yeah, I mean, look at those offensive stats, man. 505, 431, 433, 361. So, I mean, Washington State's going to be able to come and throw in that football. It doesn't look like USC is going to put up that much resistance. So,
they're
it
back
should be a
to
fun
old
one.
Mike
You're right,
Leach
though.
stuff, Donnie.
Yeah. Yep, 62.5 opens up at Chris, 65 at Pinnacle in the total, 65 about across the board. I think that's right. And the good part about that is you always want to recognize when you go up to Washington State, usually later in the year. For me, it's me foggy, cool, rainy. Looks like you're going to get about, 66 to 68 degrees at kickoff time. Winds under 10 miles an hour. Precipitation, Jeff, under 2% chance. So you're going to get a clean football game up there. So I think you might, as long as, the running back from USC comes in healthy, I might lean on the over in that one, Jeff.
The only concern I have on that is when you look at overs, a lot of the time, as we've talked about, Donnie, I've made it clear I'm big on pace of play. Washington State's pretty slow as far as how they run plays. They throw a ton, but they're not like running up and down the field as far as like Luke Falk's a statue. He sits back there and just picks you apart. USC, a similar type of team. They're a little bit faster for sure, but overall, I see where you're going. This should be getting into the 30s. I would agree with you there. I just don't know if it's as Big 12-ish type of over, but I agree with you here.
Next year up on the docket, Jeff, let's go 121, 122 Saturday, a 12:20 kickoff, something that you don't see that often. Syracuse and NC State, 76% of the tickets currently coming in on NC State after their big victory at Florida State. Opening line at 11.5 at both books, Pinnacle and Chris. Looks like it's creeped up a little bit, Jeff. Just under 2 touchdowns, 13.5 showing up now at BetOnline, 13 at sportsbook.com. Any letdown in the house here, Jeff, coming up for this game for NC State?
Yeah, there definitely could be. And I think against Syracuse, that's pretty dangerous. Syracuse is a really good offense. Eric Dungey can move the football, and we know Dino Babers loves to score points. So, yeah, it could be. I'm looking over the total in this game. I don't really, I don't want to say I don't care what the total is, but I don't. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of points in this football game. Cuse offense, as always, is rolling, and as always, Donnie, their defense is bad. They're giving up a lot of points, and NC State can score, man. They love to throw the football around. One of the better passing teams in the country right now behind Ryan Finley, 43 points a game at home. And again, Donnie, it's all about will these teams run the football? Most of them don't. Neither of them really run the ball particularly high amount. They like to abandon the run, and pace is important. You look at pace in this game, 5th in plays for Cuse, 17th for NC State. They're going to throw the football at a high level. They're going to move up and down the field. And a big thing for me, Donnie, I like NC State's defensive line. It's very good, but their secondary has some trouble a lot of the time. They're facing a good quarterback here in Dungey. And as far as Syracuse, they can't really stop anyone. So I think we see a pretty high-scoring game here. I don't like the ACC always doing these 12-20 random kickoffs. I don't get that. But for me, this looks like a really good over. I definitely think we could see a letdown on the defensive side for NC State. And against Syracuse, that's not a good thing to do. I think this is like a 44-38 type of game. I think we see a lot of points in this game.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, you get that super fast offense, Dino Babers type style. Dungey's been good. They went down this, not the surprise of me, going down competing with LSU in that last football game to getting the cover. We'll see if any, maybe they got some of the rust knocked off there because LSU and SEC football team very physical on the road
I
last week
would,
and go on the road again to NC State here.
yeah, and I would recommend also if you like the over in this game, I would probably bet it now. 63 is a good number, and this line's only going to go up.
Yeah, no, probably some good. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at this game, are you really looking to be an under better in that football game? I would think not. It's more likely to go over just from the style of pace. And again, me and Jeff have watched these offense before. NC State can be explosive. That was a damn good football team that they just played Florida State defensively, and they look good on offense. Florida State, Jeff, I think we can agree, nowhere near, or excuse me, Syracuse's defense nowhere near as tidy as that Florida State defense, right?
No, nowhere near. And when you're running 88 plays a game and 83 plays a game, you're going to
Yep.
see points. And you're right. They can move the ball against Florida State. What makes you think they're not going to be able to move the ball at a high level against Syracuse?
Yep. Next up here, Jeff, 177, 178, a 12 noon start on Saturday. We're going to head back down to the Swamp. Vanderbilt in Florida. The one thing that's going to be interesting about this game, Jeff, is Vanderbilt's overall psyche. I mean, we've seen it. They were 3-0. We got Bama. We waited our entire life for this moment. We're 3-0. We got Bama at home. What can we do? Thoroughly embarrassed in all facets of the game. 1 point short of getting beat by 60 points at home. Was the final 59-0 in that game, Jeff? Yep. 59-0.
Yes.
So 1 point short. Now you're heading on the road. I mean, Florida, obviously not nearly the football program that Alabama is at this point, but still good athletes, still going to bring a good defense. The one thing that we've seen out of Vanderbilt is, yes, they like to play, tight, strong football, but if you're going to get shut out by Alabama, you put up 14 against Kansas State and only 28 against Middle Tennessee State. I won't even count the Alabama A&M game. Can they bring enough offense to the Swamp? I know it's 10. I looked at the early line. I actually like Vanderbilt getting 10 here, not because of what Vanderbilt can do. It's what Florida can do on offense, benching their quarterback, going back to Luke Del Rio. They're a little bit of a mess down there as well. But can Vanderbilt, Jeff, get some offense going here just to keep them in the ball game for maybe an outright victory here?
Yeah, one thing when you're looking at games like this where a team gets blown out the week before, you want to see what the coach said. And is he prepared to lead his team in this week of practice coming up to this game on the road? Derek Mason in his presser after the game called his O lineman soft. And that's not something, if you're a football player, you want to hear, especially an O lineman. I expect them to come out here with a sense of fervor. I like Vanderbilt. I think they're a good football team. And a team like Vanderbilt, they're smart kids. It's not easy to get into Vanderbilt. These kids, they're about as close to me, Donnie, as a military school you can get. Vanderbilt, Stanford, a lot of these football teams are very smart. They're well prepared. They know how to shake off bad things and move on to the next. And I got to tell you, Donnie, for as much negativity around Vanderbilt right now is, at the end of the day, it was Alabama. Alabama does that stuff to a lot of teams. And going on the road to Florida might be a good piece of medicine for them. Remember Baylor, Donnie? They covered a game when no one thought they could do it. It wasn't easy, but they did it. I look for a similar situation here. You look at the last couple games between these two, very low scoring in the teens as far as points scored. And Donnie, I'm not sure if there's been one that's been more on point with Florida's situation than myself. I told all of you this was going to be a long-term thing with these kids in this credit card. I don't think we see them this year, to be honest with you. These are problems that are going to plague them all year. Antonio Cali, this is his third run-in with the law. Many of these kids, Donnie, you look at the actual indictment in this case, it's something out of a movie. It's almost like a ring of sorts. You could call it mini racketeering in a way. There's a group of people that were told to do things by someone that led the ring. One of the people that led the ring was a defensive lineman. This is bad. This is not going to make this team any better. And I'm going to tell you right now, Florida's been very lucky this year. If you look at both their wins, they came in very lucky fashion. I don't think they're a very good football team. They've been skating by with the skin of their teeth several times this year. I think Vanderbilt goes in and beats them here, but I'll take the 10 points. I know people are going to say, well, Big Ben, you were dead wrong on Vanderbilt last week. You would be right. I was. A lot of us were. But I think Mason really shocked this team back into oblivion. Look for them to come out with a much better effort here. And I think for Florida, this is where they kind of get hit in the mouth a little bit. This is a team here that's really good defensively and is off a bad loss. Look for them to come back here and really, I think, take it to Florida.
One interesting thing, I mean, again, I'd like to remove that Alabama A&M game. 71 yards on the ground versus Middle Tennessee State, 65 yards on the ground versus Kansas State, 40 yards of ground on Alabama. That's really where they make their bread and butter. Try to run play action pass, use Shermer, short quick outs, but they got to run the football better. They have a really good running back in Webb. He's got to get untracked, but I don't know if this is the time he's going to get untracked. Looking at this game, Jeff, over under in this, let me see what the line is. It's got to be
42.
pretty low. 42 it opened up at, sitting at 43, 42 in some spots. It seems about right. It's hard to bet an under because you saw this line, Jeff, similar in the Alabama game where I think it closed at 42.5. They easily went over, but no help from Vanderbilt in this. But obviously, I don't think Florida is going to be an offense that's going to be able to move and do whatever, have 500 yards on the ground versus Vanderbilt like Alabama did. So that should be an interesting one. Any leans on the total in that game at all?
Well, the last two games between these teams combined, in two games, we saw 35 points. So, I mean, yeah, look, I'm not taking the over in this game. But the one concern you have on an over here is Vanderbilt has become more of a passing offense. They're definitely throwing the ball a lot more. And I see them taking some shots here, especially after last week. You can't get beat like that 2 weeks in a row or 1 week in a row and expect your team to come out totally flat. Derek Mason will have them prepared here. They're a smart group. They'll go down there and they'll hang in this game. Double digits is too many for a team like Florida. I don't think they're a team that is built to cover numbers like this. And this is a different situation than Purdue, Michigan. These are two teams on similar wavelengths. As far as for none business, I'm not really sure why this is a big letdown spot. I'm not sure I get that point. What do you mean? I mean, they got crushed last
I mean,
week.
I could see it though because like you like that was like their Super Bowl last week. Let's measure ourselves against Alabama, and you completely got obliterated. If they lost like 24-14, I think it would be a good positive. But just getting smashed and then not having Florida at home, you get to go on the road now. I could see his point.
When your coach calls you soft, um, that'll for a team like Vanderbilt, that will kick them in the teeth. They'll be ready for this game. 10 points is too many. 3 or 4,
Yeah,
okay,
I would
but
agree.
10. Florida shouldn't be laying 10 points with their injury concerns, with their suspensions, with their quarterback controversies, with the way they're winning games. They're not killing teams, Donnie. I mean, they're winning games on Hail Marys and missed field goals. I mean, they could be 0-3 right now very easily.
Yeah, since it's not baseball, I always go back to the old adage, Jeff, we're not asking for Vanderbilt to win this football game. If they do, that's fantastic. Just asking you to hang around in that point, getting double digits. So we'll see how that
I
game
would
plays
be
out.
I
Yeah.
would be very surprised if they don't cover Vanderbilt. I really would. This is one of those games where if Vanderbilt doesn't cover, you maybe move on from them as a better. But here the writing's on the wall. They need to cover this game. I think they will.
Finally, up on the docket, one of my favorite games of the week, Jeff. And I've been digging into this game all day, and I'm sort of leaning on a side pretty heavily at this point. 209, 210. We're going to talk about Memphis and Central Florida, two offenses that can get up and down the field. But I'm thinking two different trajectories on the season overall. If we take a look at UCF, Jeff, opening up versus FIU and obliterating them 61-17. You take a couple weeks off, you go to an ACC opponent. Now, granted, a lot of quarterbacks down, quarterback injuries during the game. You took Maryland apart 38-10. If we look over on the other side of the football, Memphis, LA, Louisiana Monroe, I know there was some weather in that ball game, but 37-29. UCLA shootout up and down the field, 48-45. Southern Illinois, looking at the game overall, you're not really up for it. You just beat UCLA. You're feeling good about yourself, 44-31. Jeff, right now, I mean, if you look at this game at Central Florida, the line opened up at 3.5, now sitting at 4. I got to tell you right now, I'm leaning towards UCF right now here.
I think this is akin to the game against UCLA for Memphis. I don't really see a situation where there's not a lot of points in this game. I mean, UCF runs up and down the field. That's what their offense is built upon. Mackenzie Milton's been doing a good job with this offense. I don't put a lot of stock in it last week. Maryland was with their fourth quarterback, so I mean that was just a tough. If you had Maryland, that's just a tough break for you there. But I mean, Memphis has made it clear they don't stop anyone, and they have some injury concerns in their secondary that don't look good. Their secondary sucks as it is. Now you're going to be without two of your better players. I think UCF's numbers are a little skewed just because of who they played. I mean, Florida International and Maryland with their fourth quarterback, defensively they look a lot better than they really are. To me, they're not very good defensively, and I think that will be tested here. It's their first real opponent. It is at home, so I look for that to be a little bit of an edge. And I see where you're coming from with UCF, but for me, it's hard for me to pick a side here. I think Memphis. This is the game they're almost. It was a good sandwich spot last week for Memphis, off a big win, then looking forward almost to the conference play starting. It reminded me a little bit of TCU Arkansas, and what I thought TCU would be is flat. They weren't. They came out and played well. I look for both these teams to really go all out in this game. Two pretty good quarterbacks here, two really high level offenses. I think this game's exactly like UC or Memphis UCLA. I think we see a high scoring football game here. Should see a lot of points.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like a lot of fun. That was the 5-pack there that Jeff had given out. So, I mean, as throughout the days, throughout the weeks, I mean, me and Jeff do a lot of shows together. We like to pick out a couple games here and there to go over. And I'm sure by the end of the week, Jeff and I will both be tired of talking NFL and college football, just waiting to watch the games. But early in the week, it's a lot of fun seeing the openings. And again, we're just taking a test run on some of these games. Nothing any too in-depth at this point. Waiting to shake out, see some injuries, check around the country to see what's going on with some beat writers. So some good college football information on the horizon. But one thing we can agree upon there, Jeff, thank you for the NCAA on a Friday night, which typically is a slow night, no NFL. At the end of the season, baseball, nobody gives a damn about that. That 4-game on Friday night, Jeff, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it is. It's awesome having a couple games to go through. There are a couple games that I'm not too interested in, but the two big boys, I mean, Miami and Duke, and then Wazoo and USC, that's going to be fun and get us prepared for another big weekend in college football.
Yeah, folks, before we get to break down a couple of these NFL games, just take a look at some opening lines, see what's going way. College basketball news today took center stage, and it really hit hard. I mean, you started seeing the retweets there on Twitter early in the morning. The FBI was going to have a press conference around noon, indicting a couple of these big programs. And the one program, Jeff, that just keeps getting in the way of all of these scams, it seems, is Louisville. But they have the Teflon Don at the top of the program there with Pitino, who seems to never know what's going on, even though he's the godfather of basketball and in on everything. But for some reason, the scandals never get close enough to him, Jeff. Talk a little bit about the damage that we might be looking at here coming up on this in this Louisville thing.
Yeah, I think for Louisville, Donnie, this is really bad. I mean, this is a one of five different things over the last couple of years that this program has seen. All sorts of problems with hookers last year. And you mean to tell me, Donnie, Rick Pitino wasn't involved with something here? I mean, why don't you just tell the listeners kind of what we've seen from Louisville over the last couple of years? I mean, it's amazing.
No, I mean it's been really. I mean, if you go back to the programs, you want to talk about from the early '80s, the '90s, the whole sneaker game that really got ramped up a notch across the country, which means everything got inflated. Price of coaching goes up. Instead of making a couple $100,000, now it's a few $1,000,000 a year. I mean, Pitino and these guys are at the top of the echelon on that pay scale. How do you stay at the top of the echelon on the pay scale? Obviously, be with a big program. They have the Yum Brands Arena down there, which is damn near as good as any NBA arena. You want to keep the seats filled. How do you keep the seats filled down at Louisville? Number one, you got to win. Number two, you got to get the best recruits possible. It's no surprise behind the scenes there, Jeff, that when we take a look at a few things that, it just goes hand in hand. Look at Pitino. I mean, the one thing with the restaurant thing with the girl and, having sex in the bathroom and he's being blackmailed through that, that's completely different there. But you want to lead me to believe that you had no idea whatsoever what was going on in the dorm rooms and paying recruits and athletes and hookers and parties and like your right-hand man, but somehow nobody even knew, even though it's in the dorm room on campus. You know exactly what recruits come into town. You want a minute by minute, Jeff, idea of where they're at. Are they having fun? How's the kid doing? Is he enjoying himself? Where are you at now?
And
What
Donnie,
are you doing? How much money do you need? Yeah.
right. And when and maybe people don't know this, but when you court a recruit or when you're going to see a recruit, your whole life is getting that recruit, that top 10
Correct.
recruit, the guy that's going to carry your program and put you on the map and continue to make you the money you've made, continue to make the team you've made. That you're obsessed with these people. I mean, Jim Harbaugh was staying over at recruits' houses for God's sakes. I mean, these they go to crazy lengths to get these kids to actually believe that he didn't have any idea, Rick Pitino, that this was going on is absolutely ridiculous. And to be honest, I can't believe he actually thinks we believe this crap. As far as Patino, he's one of the slimiest people in the country as far as coaches are concerned. But you look at all the coaches involved with this, whether it's Bruce Pearl, whether it's Andy Enfield, whether it's whoever. I mean, they all should be held accountable for what's going on here because the coach of the program is the person that goes after these recruits. Case in point, Brian Bowen, Donnie, one of the people mentioned in this indictment as far as prize recruits. Brian Bowen, for anyone that doesn't know, went to La Lumiere High School, one of the more premier teams in the country last year. They were voted one of the best teams actually the best.
They were on ESPN quite a bit too, weren't they?
Correct. Him and Jaren Jackson, the two best players on this team, were good friends. Jackson was going to Michigan State. In a way, as friends, they decided they were going to go to Michigan State and play for Tom Izzo. All of a sudden, about a week before signing day, Brian Bowen decides, I'm going to Louisville. Louisville had not been someone that had contacted him for years. I don't think they were even recruiting him anymore. They might have been on the back end, somebody, but then something came up where his family received $100,000 in 4 different payments. It's not that this is not going on. We all know what's going on. The problem is it is a crime. If you're a coach at a major college institution and you're being paid and that school receives funds from the federal government, you cannot accept bribes. It's just the truth of the matter. Everyone knows that. And the federal government is cracking down on this. I'm surprised that they went after the coaches. This isn't something you normally see. They're usually better, they're dealing with gangs or terrorism or high level SEC problems with the stock market. I think it's interesting. There definitely, I think, was some kind of snitch involved here from another program that maybe, got cut a deal here. I've heard all sorts of rumblings. I think this is only the beginning, Donnie. This is some kind of widespread problem, I feel like. And I think, in a way, a lot of this has to do with, the oversight at these college campuses. As far as Louisville's athletic director, why hasn't he been let go yet? I mean, this has all been done under his watch.
And he brings back Petrino, who's the king of having these scandals and stuff like that. But yeah, he keeps backing him up each and every time. We trust him. We'll slap him on the wrist. He won't be there for the first 5 ACC games. They don't care about that. And again, all these assistant coaches getting roped into it. He said, well, why the assistants and not the head coaches? If you're a head coach of a program like Rick Pitino, you want to be as far away, quote unquote, as possible. The same way a mob boss would want to be as far away. The CEO, I had no idea what any of my underlings were doing in this, but you only keep your job, Jeff, as an assistant coach in a major level program. Why? Because you need to recruit these kids and bring them into town. You're not really an X's and O's guy as an assistant in college. Yeah, you want to learn the system. Hey, how's Pitino break the press and do this? But the only reason you're there is by what you can put in your little black book saying, I brought this 5-star in, coach. I brought this 3-star in. I brought this 4-star in. Look how much he helped the program. That was my guy, right-hand man. That's how you keep your job in college basketball. Keep bringing the talent in. That's why they're under so much pressure. And again, if you're an Adidas school, hey, let me swing that money over there. Let's put in $100,000. Look for the Bowen thing, Jeff. The last-minute deal here. Who's not to say wherever he was going at the last minute, their coach goes, hey, look, looks like everybody's committed, and we'd love to have you, but I can't get you the $100,000. I can only get you $10,000, and we'll float it to you. Now all of a sudden you start making your agents and your runners start making those phone calls.
Also, explain to me why miraculously Brad Underwood just decides I'm leaving Oklahoma State. I was 20-13 in my first year with a young team, but I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Illinois.
Yeah.
What happened there? My whole thing is he probably heard about a fucking federal indictment coming down, and he said, I'm getting out of here. Because you don't just do that. There's a lot of weird things going on that I'm reading here. Donnie, in The Wire, Proposition Joe said it best. You know what kills more police than liquor and bullets? Boredom. For some reason, they just can't live with that shit. And it's true. At the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, the cops are always going to have more money than you, more resources than you. And if you don't think you can be found, they're going to find you. Look at Craig Carton. Look at anybody. They're bored. They're going after the big wigs here, and they did it. They went after Adidas. They went after college coaches. Amazing. Really amazing. I'm blown away, but I'm not blown away because we all know this happens. They were just the people to grab that falling sword when it did come down.
Yeah, did you see the guy that used Jeff was a informant, but he ran almost like a Ponzi type pyramid scheme that stole $2.5 million through an investment firm. Yep. And you know where that gets started because what does he do? He goes to the feds and goes, hey, man, you're looking at like 10 years. I'm going to put you away for. He goes, how about if I can give you some of these high level basketball coaches? I run in these circles. I see exactly what happens. cut me down to a couple years. We'll set up this thing, put a wire on me. I can get right in these lines and talk it out with them. That's how it starts.
Yep, and when you're messing around in dirt, you're going to get dirty, and that's what happened here. It's like any other federal investigation. When they want someone, they're going to attack the weak people in the organization and say, "Listen, we know you're doing dirt. We know you don't want to go to jail for 20 years or 30 or wherever or life, depending on the Ponzi. What can you do for us?" And I'm going to say, "Hey, listen," or if that person, "Hey, I got all these basketball coaches on my payroll. That's a sexy. The feds like sexiness. They like sexy cases. They like to be in the news. They like to see the big Southern District of New York emblem. They love
Press
seeing that.
conference.
Dope on
Yep.
the table.
Yeah.
Right. Dope on the table, as they would say. That's what went on here. And unfortunately, it's almost like gambling in a way. We all do it. Some people get caught and most people don't. It's like everyone tries to cut out on certain taxes. Some people get audited. Just how it goes. I don't blame these guys. I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they should go to prison. Because unfortunately everyone does this. The real people, the real criminals here are people like Rick Pitino, are people like Urban Meyer that continue to sweep things under the table. They're just bad people. To
Win
blame
at
this
all
on your
costs. Yep.
assistants, right?
Yeah.
To blame this on your assistants is a real shame.
And the best part, Jeff, we all saw the Twitter accounts going around, all the information saying that, Rick Pitino doing the radio, hits or reporters talking. It's like, man, I've been in this game 40 years and this is the luckiest I've ever been. How many times do you know, Jeff, for one of the best players in the country you didn't talk to all of a sudden showed up on your campus? You're not asking any of your assistants, hey, what's the story? Why are we back in on this? I don't know, coach. I don't know. We didn't even talk to the guy. He was signed, sealed, delivered to somebody else. Now all of a sudden we got him. And Rick Pitino is just going to say, hey, no big deal. Great. We'll just take him in here. He knows exactly what went down on that. Exactly.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, Donnie, going into the year. Louisville is a team that clearly is always in the running. They're always there to win a national title, go to a Final Four. It'll be interesting. Brian Bowen's mentioned it in this indictment. Brian Bowen's a good basketball player, and a lot of this has to do with him and his family. It'll be interesting to see what goes on here. But Pat Forty wrote a great article for Yahoo Sports. You may have to look at the death penalty for Louisville basketball. I mean, how long do you put up with this stuff?
Yeah, and it always comes down to money. They drag their feet. What's one of the most profitable programs, highest level, most fan bases you have out there, Jeff? That's the UNC Tar Heels, which for 20 years have been putting their players in fake classes, covers up, and I mean, caught red-handed. But dadgummit at head coach over there, Roy Williams, I didn't know, oh, shucks, what's going on? They never touch those programs because the NCAA is about dollars. And if they bang down USC, if they bang down Louisville, two major blue blood programs, it's not good for business. Probably going to end up getting swept under the rug and, just sent right out the back door because UNC should be the purveyor of all. UNC should have their basketball program abolished for a good 5-year run for the nonsense they get away with down there. But again, Louisville, Rick Pitino, I can't wait for the press conference. It's going to be a lot of fun when Pitino gets up there and is asked questions like, look, I run the most upstanding program there is. I don't know anything about it. You never know anything about your program, but it's always in the dirt.
Right. And again, we also have to look at the real person here that's affected. People like Brian Bowen, people like these high-level recruits that most are just high-level recruits. They're not rich. They don't get anything. They ride the bus just like every other kid, but they're the one person in the game that everyone's looking at, and they're basically a feeding frenzy. It's like when you throw, a piece of a fish in the ocean, and all the sharks come. All the sharks are the scumbag managers and AAU people that surround these kids and say, listen, come to UNC. We'll pay your rent. We'll pay your mom's rent. We'll even buy her a new car. Everyone knows this. This has been widely reported. Most of these kids are coming from poor situations, bad situations. Their mom doesn't have money for a light bill. Allen Iverson. I remember hearing stories about Allen Iverson. And his mother didn't pay the light bill for a couple months because he needed basketball sneakers. I mean, this is every kid. And the shameful part about it, the only people that are really affected by this are people like Brian Bowen, the kid that is 18 years old, is just a good basketball player, and he was used to get what these guys want. It's a shame. It really is. And I hope Rick Pitino gets everything coming to him and guys like that because they've ruined a good, beautiful game that I love.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see the come down there on what, Jurek, who's always up. He put his neck on the line for Patino. Now, this coming down the line. The best part about it, Jeff, is this comes down the line. What else is there out there on Louisville? Because these programs are doing multitude of things just to get people. I mean, again, everybody's out to make money for themselves, and I can't wait to see the fallout of this one for sure.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but they aren't going to be the only ones that are getting in trouble here. This is going to be, and this is board now in college sports. You look at Florida University, Donnie. I mean, I think a couple years ago, they would have found whatever way they could to sweep all that
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
under the table and said, hey, look, we got a couple kids that are stealing credit cards and using them for their own personal gain. You need to nip this in the bud now, or we're going to go public with this. They're not doing that
Yeah, I mean,
anymore. People
they had
are being
Percy
held
Harvin
accountable.
down there failing drug test after drug test after drug test wiped under the carpet. You had a tight end going out there literally shooting people on a
You
nightly
can't do it.
basis, it seemed down there, just sweep it right under the rug. Urban Meyer was a genius at keeping Florida out of the
But even
limelight. Again, yeah.
Donnie, even back then, though, and this is the problem nowadays with sweeping things under the carpet. Nowadays, with social media, 10 years ago when Aaron Hernandez was in college, social media wasn't really around. It was around, but it wasn't as potent as it is now. We were still using, low-level iPhones and things like that. It wasn't what it is now. There's always a TMZ person looking for a story, looking for a big scoop. This goes back to the Al Capone days, Donnie. A propaganda, people wanting big stories, people saying whatever they can for clicks. Nowadays, you can just not, you just can't hide anything. We know what LaShawn McCoy tips the waitress every time he goes out to dinner. What makes you think you're going to be able to hide stuff like this under the carpet? It's just not going to happen. There are too many do-gooders and people that do bad out there trying to get a story. You just can't sweep it under the carpet anymore.
No, that's why I'm glad I grew up and went to high school in the mid to early 90s and college before, graduating before the year 2000. We didn't have cell phones that took pictures with mobile phones like that. And thank goodness, because, I mean, every kid is pretty much the same. Everybody goes through the same growing type things, makes mistakes as youngsters. The only thing good about that, Jeff, is my mistakes weren't taking pictures of or sending tweets or getting anything out there. So that was interesting on that, man.
Right. We've all lived in different times here. And unfortunately, like we've said, the only people that are gonna not benefit from this, these college kids, after all this has happened, they're still gonna go out and have to play basketball and try to get to the NBA after all this. This will be a character concern for Brian Bowen going forward. It didn't really involve anything that he did character wise. He was used by someone, but unfortunately, this is going to become a character issue for him.
Yeah, Loose Gun says out there, don't you think that NCAA should lighten up a little bit with all these petty rules? There's a ton of petty rules. I just think they're looking to even the playing field out there saying, and a lot of times at the NCAA, they don't want to get you in trouble because it's bad for their own business. They just wish the people would police themselves better. We know the cheating's going on. It's almost like the NCAA says, look, don't do it that much or that outlandish. That's going to get everybody in trouble. But yet these programs get greedy because if your coach, Jeff, if coaches made 40 grand like they were a teacher, nobody would be cheating and stealing because you'd be just, hey, happy to have the coach there. But in an arms race with sports, and especially college football and college basketball at those top 20 programs, they keep the entire athletic department budget on point just from those programs. That's the pressure, and that's why a lot of the times, Jeff, these guys look away because they know how important it is to win and get that money at that level.
And Donnie, back to the whole kids don't have enough money to eat crap that we hear about all the time. According to 2013 31B of the NCAA Legislative Council, they adopted a proposal a couple years ago where each student athlete gets 3 meals a day in a meal plan, training meal, training table, food on road trip days, energy bars, fruits, nuts, other carbohydrates. I mean, they have everything they need eating wise. As far as a scholarship, it's all paid for. They get
And a
free
stipend. They get a
transportation
stipend every
to all the
month.
games.
Yep.
What more do you want? The rules are perfectly clear and crystal, just like in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. All the rules were there. All you had to do was follow them, and none of the kids followed them. And the only nice one, Charlie, ended up getting the prize at the end because he was such a sweet boy. That's what you have to be. You have to be someone that follows the rules and shuts up. Because at the end of the day, most of these kids are getting a free education, many of which none of us get. If I went to college, I would have to pay for it. My sister went to college, she had to pay for it. My brother went to college, he had to pay for it. There are kids that are doctors. They get no money from their paycheck because most of it goes to student loans. And you're going to have these kids that whine and cry because they're not being fed at night. Bullshit. There's plenty of rules that clearly state you get what you get. Your athlete's just being paid for. Stop whining. The rules are the rules. We may not like it, but it is what it is. The NCAA is a dictatorship of sorts. And if they don't like it, they don't have to play.
No, and the latest one that came down the line, I retweeted a couple of days ago because Jay Billis, I don't follow Jay Billis, but obviously he's going to make its way around the timeline. The kid now, the Texas A&M cross-country runner who's trying to start a company, runs a YouTube account and promotes like his running along with his company. And he's put and again, if the mainstream media, the people that don't understand sports or how anything works, his whole timeline was like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe they're doing that. When you sign up, and again, you're cross-country at Texas A&M. Your program is not profitable for Texas A&M. Trust me. You're on a scholarship. Let's just say to go to A&M, it's 30. I don't even know what it is. Let's say 30 grand a year, something like that. Probably even much, much more than that. Them taking you on over 4 years is going to cost them, what, 200 grand, 250 grand, whatever it is your educational needs, transportation, whatever. You're not making them any money. And all they ask you to do is like, hey, you can't use our likeliness. You can do whatever you want, but you can't say you run for Texas A&M. Here's my shirt. Vote for me here. I like this company. I have my own shoe gear, whatever it is. As long as you don't do that, we will pay for your schooling. You get a great education. When you graduate, good luck. Start that company and get after it. And they play the whole woe is me. I can't support my own business here on Twitter and I run. I mean, it's a travesty. No. When you signed up for the job, they asked you just not do that, and they will pay for your schooling, and that you still can't do it.
The rules are perfectly clear. It's just like any other job. Your education is being paid for. So in a way, you're being paid. You don't have to, once you graduate and you start making money, none of that money will come out for student loans. So on the back end, you're making money. It blows me away that there are actually NBA athletes that bitch and whine because they had to scrimp and save in college. Please stop, okay? Because everything that you have as an athlete, your workout, your place you live, everything in your life is paid for. And you're also allowed to have you have someone that literally will give you their whole life as a trainer to make you stronger, a better player, to improve your game. Everything is taken care of, and there's still a way that these kids bitch about things. I'm going to tell you right now, this whole giving people bribe stuff, that's if they want to come out and think that we think that's new, it's not new. These guys were just unfortunately caught. Donnie, I remember in the 80s, Rayful Edmond, a high-level drug dealer in Washington, D.C., was giving bribes to players. You know what John Thompson did? Called him on the phone and said, I need to speak to you. He said, call me on the phone. He said, I need to speak to you. You need to come into my office. Rayful Edmond was making $1 million a month selling drugs. He was palling around with players, giving them stuff. He went into Thompson's office. He was a big Georgetown fan. Thompson said, if I ever see you around my players again, something bad's going to happen. Now, this is a grade A killer. This is a high-level drug dealer. Rayful Edmond was
Marlon
never
coming in there.
Game again. Yeah. You have to.
Like Marlo Stanfield coming in there.
Right. This is stuff you have to as a coach, and this is where good coaches are separate. Rick Pitino is not a good coach. He's not a great legendary coach. He should not be called a great legendary coach because what Rick Pitino has done in his long career is not just win. He's won for himself. And by winning for himself, all he's done is ruin lives. He's not been a leader whatsoever. And he's not made men into anyone. He's all in it for himself and to get himself richer. That's not a coach to me. That's just a guy that uses people to get rich. He's not a good coach. Stop saying it. Most of these guys couldn't coach their way out of a fucking paper bag. They're given the best players in the world, and we want to call them good coaches. The good coach, Donnie, you know what a good coach is? A good coach is someone that prepares someone for life, takes them out of a bad situation, prepares them to succeed, sticks by them their whole life. That's a good coach. Not someone that gets the best recruits. and we call them great coaches because they win every year. Mark Few, that's a great coach. Guys like him, Steve Fisher, guys that aren't given the world. That's a good coach, not Roy Williams.
No, I hear you, man. Great conversation, as always, with my partner in crime on the right side of campus, Jeff Nadeau. Check him also out Saturday, 11 a.m. with Peter Loshak as they go over the closing line, college football edition. I'll be on a little bit later tonight on with Gabriel Morency at 10 p.m. for some late night action. We'll go over some NFL football cards. It's been the closing line for September 26th, presented by SportsbookReview.com. Check out all the latest at SBRodds.com. Also, check us out at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Give us a like, follow, and some feedback there, and subscribe to us on YouTube. From all of us at SportsbookReview.com, good luck on your wagers tonight. We hope we helped you beat the closing line.
Hey, guys, that was great.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, man.
Tough conversation, though.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.